7 strange UK laws that could still get you in trouble. From quirky Victorian leftovers to modern rules you only notice at 11 p.m, Britain's statute book hides surprises. This friendly video explains the real law behind the headlines and gives simple, respectful tips for everyday life. If you're searching for weird UK laws, strange British laws, UK legal facts, British rules you didn't know, unusual UK laws, British facts, and even UK trivia or UK law myths debunked, this is your calm, factual tour of 7 strange UK laws that could still get you in trouble today. 1. Being drunk in a pub. It sounds upside down, like banning umbrellas in a rainstorm, but the UK has long had a rule that makes it an offence to be found drunk on licensed premises. That line comes from the Licensing Act 1872, and although the wording feels antique, the logic is timeless. It gives bar staff and police a clear legal anchor when someone slides beyond merry into unsafe. Think of it less as punishing pints and more as protecting people when a night out spirals. Here's how it plays out. You're out with friends and the mood is good. Most of the room is cheerfully sociable. One table is not. Someone starts wobbling into furniture, shouting over the music, or refusing to leave. At that point, a venue's licence and everyone's safety moves to the front of the queue. The 1872 rule isn't about counting units, it's about behaviour, risk, and the power to step in before someone gets hurt. Staff can refuse service, ask a guest to cool off outside, and, if needed, call officers to de-escalate. It's the steady handrail behind the scenes. Why keep a Victorian rule in the 21st century? Because licensed premises operate under tight conditions. Training, hours, incident logs, and review points. Tolerating obvious drunkenness that spills into harm can count against a venue when authorities assess its licence. So when a bartender says, "Let's switch to water," they're not being awkward. They're protecting you, the team, and the community's nighttime economy. Seen that way, the weird UK laws angle softens into common sense. Practical takeaways are refreshingly simple. Pace yourself, hydrate, and listen to staff. If service is refused, take it as a friendly flag and wind it down. Keep your group calm at closing time and head home without a scene. On paper, it's the Licensing Act 1872. In real life, it's just considerate nightlife. For those building British facts and UK trivia videos, this one lands well. Counterintuitive headline, straightforward explanation, and a neat example of UK law myths debunked. 2. Drunk in charge of a horse, or cattle, or even a steam engine. Now for the time travel chapter of British law. The same 19th century act that covers drunkenness on licensed premises also makes it an offence to be drunk while in charge of a carriage, horse, cattle, or a steam engine in a public place. It reads like a museum label, yet it still has bite wherever animals, heavy kit, and crowds mix. Swap steering wheel for reins. And the risk looks very familiar. Weight, momentum, unpredictability, and people nearby. Why does it still matter? Safety never goes out of fashion. Horses turn up at weddings, parades, festivals, and tourist rides. Mounted police are a normal sight in cities. Carriages still roll at heritage events. And agricultural life carries on in rural lanes. If someone is clearly intoxicated while controlling or supposed to control an animal in public, the law provides a clean intervention point before harm happens. You don't need a collision to have a problem. A wobbly handler in a busy lane is risk enough. What does in charge actually mean? Movement isn't required. Responsibility is. If you're handling a horse, leading a carriage, or supervising animals as they move through public space, you're in charge. Modern drink driving laws cover motor vehicles with much tougher penalties. This older rule simply closes a gap for non-motor scenarios. It's one of those strange British laws that makes perfect sense once you run the safety thought experiment. Good practice is beautifully undramatic. Nominate a sober handler, set clear hand-off points, and keep the bubbly for after the animals are stabled. Event organisers already do this because it respects animals, guests, and the public realm. 3. Handling fish in suspicious circumstances. The award for most eyebrow-raising wording goes here. Once focused on salmon specifically, the law now covers fish in general. You'll often see Salmon Act 1986 cited in explainer pieces, with a simple aim: protect waterways, deter poaching, and keep untraceable stock off plates. If you handle fish in circumstances where a reasonable person would suspect they were unlawfully taken, you could be committing an offence. It's not aimed at your Friday chippy tea, it's aimed at the grey market that makes poaching worthwhile. What does suspicious circumstances look like in plain English? Picture a late-night car park, whisper-priced crates, cash only, no receipts, and a seller whose story doesn't stay straight. Or a door-to-door offer that undercuts the market by half with zero traceability. It's the combination, price, provenance, timing, and evasiveness that lights the warning beacon. The rule makes buyers think twice, and that matters because conservation isn't only patrols and nets, it's also economics. If dodgy stock can be flipped for quick cash, the incentive remains. Dry up demand and you cut the route. There's a food safety layer too. Unregulated fish can bypass temperature control, hygiene standards, and allergen information. That's risky for customers and reputationally unfair on legit traders who invest in doing it right. Reputable fishmongers and restaurateurs won't blink at questions of provenance, and a simple receipt or licensing note will make your day. If you're a creator filming seaside eats, mix in this angle on camera. It's a thoughtful detail that elevates the story and champions the good actors. 4. Cycling on the pavement, footway. Here's a reality check for two wheels. Pavements are for pedestrians unless signs say otherwise. The core offence dates to the Highways Act 1835, and the modern highway code keeps the principle crisp. You must not ride on the pavement unless the path is signed as shared use or specifically designated for cycles. If you want the crisp reference that delights British rules you didn't know fans, point to the pedestrian priority line, and, if you're deep in details, you'll see Highway Code Rule 248 discussed widely. That one mainly concerns night parking. More on that soon. While cycling on footways ties back to the 1835 Act and cycle-specific rules in the code. Why does this nip so many people? Confusing layouts. In many towns, the difference between a pavement and a shared path is a small round blue sign that's easy to miss if you're dodging potholes or rain. Add headphones, evening glare, or unfamiliar junctions, and even well-meaning riders drift where they shouldn't. Enforcement often emphasises discretion and education, especially for children, though fixed penalties do exist. The spirit is to protect people on foot, not to punish considerate cyclists caught out by design quirks. The human reason behind the rule is simple. Pavements are where prams, small children, and mobility aids find refuge. Even a slow-moving bike can be intimidating in that bubble. That's why small courtesies, dismounting for short linking stretches, ringing a bell early rather than late, making eye contact at crossings, earn wings of goodwill. They also keep you on the right side of a very old law that still shapes everyday streets. Planning helps. Check local cycle maps before unfamiliar trips. Councils publish simple PDFs showing shared paths and quiet routes. On the road, scan for the blue shared path discs. Look ahead for tactile paving that signals pedestrian priority. And remember, if there's no sign, assume it's pedestrian only. 5. Parking at night facing the wrong way. This is the stealth rule that snags new drivers and visitors. On many streets, you must not park at night facing against the flow of traffic, unless you're in a marked bay that overrides the concern. The logic is visibility. After dark, your rear reflectors should face approaching traffic so your parked car can be seen. The Highway Code Rule 248 and the road vehicles lighting regulations do the heavy lifting here, and once you hear the physics, you'll never unknow it. Why does it surprise people? In daylight, choosing the neatest spot feels harmless, but once darkness falls, that tidy nose-in space against traffic becomes risky. Headlights illuminate reflectors, not bonnets, so a car facing the wrong way can be far less conspicuous. Parked vehicles often sit inches from where people walk, cycle, or pull out. The reflectors are there to be seen. Turning them towards oncoming traffic is the simplest safety win available. This rule hooks into a cluster of nighttime details. Depending on the street, you may need to use parking lights. You should avoid junction mouths and keep clear of bends. Controlled zones may still bite after hours. It's not bureaucracy for its own sake. Each tiny rule chips away at the risk of a midnight scrape. When people talk about strange British laws, this is a lovely reveal. It isn't strange at all once you picture how light works at night. Here's the easy habit. On quiet residential roads, choose a space on the left so your reflectors face the flow. In marked bays, follow the bay rules. They typically neutralise the facing issue. Don't block dropped curbs. Be mindful of corners and tight streets where visibility is compromised. 6. Dogs in public must wear an ID tag. Yes, microchipping is mandatory and brilliant, but it's not a replacement for an old-fashioned collar tag. When your dog is in public, the law expects a readable tag with the keeper's name and address. That requirement lives in the Control of Dogs Order 1992, and while there are limited exemptions for working dogs in specific circumstances, for everyday walks the rule is as straightforward as they come. Why this still matters in the age of chips is easy to understand. Chips need the right scanner, updated databases, and someone willing to ferry your dog to a vet, rescue, or counsel. A tag works instantly. If your spaniel slips the lead in the park, a passerby can read the tag and call you within seconds. That turns a stressful afternoon into a 90-second reunion. It's the smallest legal compliance with the largest payoff. Common missteps are all about legibility. Decorative tags that look cute but can't be read at arm's length. Nicknames or incomplete addresses, relying entirely on a microchip. A good tag is boring on purpose. Clear surname, house number and postcode, and a mobile number you actually answer. Keep a spare at home. Check legibility every few months. And if your pet uses a harness, clip a tag to both harness and collar. Pets wriggle. Redundancy is your friend. If you share British facts online, this one lands beautifully because it flips expectations. Among the weird UK laws, this is the least weird and the most useful. It's a daily, practical UK legal fact that quietly reduces stress for families, council officers, vets, and good-hearted strangers. 7. Abstracting electricity. Yes, even for a cheeky phone charge. Few phrases in the statute book land as memorably as this. It's an offence to dishonestly use, waste, or divert electricity without authority. That comes from the Theft Act 1968, and in practice it's mainly used against meter bypassing and other serious fraud. But because the offence is broadly worded, it's also the reason you sometimes see headlines about people plugging in without permission. Context and honesty matter a lot. The heart of the rule is intent. Accidentally brushing a wireless pad in a public space isn't the point. Deliberately taking power you know you shouldn't use is. Venues also care about safety and insurance. Unapproved cables can create trip hazards or overload sockets, which turns a small favour into a big problem if someone falls or a socket overheats. Where house rules say no charging, the kindest, quickest solution is to ask. A polite conversation, "Mind if I top up?" gets you a clear yes-no and keeps everyone out of grey areas. For travellers and commuters, a pocket-sized power bank eliminates the whole question. Short cables reduce mess. Keeping your charger in good condition avoids the frayed lead hazard that staff rightly dislike. If a cafe or station signposts charging points, use those and avoid trailing leads across walkways. None of this is dramatic. It's just tidy public manners married to a law that scales from the trivial to the serious depending on intent. Old wording, modern purpose, safety, order, and traceability. Read signs, ask permission, and use everyday courtesy. And these quirky rules fade into the background, exactly where they belong. Share this video to 7 strange UK laws that could still get you in trouble, with friends and viewers who love smart British rules you didn't know. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe and don't forget to turn on